Welcome to the Global Justice Report, an online production of the Center for Global Justice. I'm Cliff Durand, your host for today's program. The Center for Global Justice, El Centro para la Justicia Global, is a multinational and bilingual research center located in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. The center is devoted to research and learning for a better world and empowering a solidarity economy. Due to the pandemic, we've discontinued our in-person programs and instituted these online webinars, which we've been doing now for over a year. Without our previous revenue-generating programs, we now depend on your donations to support these webinars and be able to continue to pay our Mexican staff. You can donate at our website, www.globaljusticecenter.org. Today's program features a film about a unique eco resort in Mexico. Tolantongo is a cooperative built by members of a community in the state of Hidalgo. As a cooperative, its members share in the profits from their labor and alternate jobs in a democratic, egalitarian community. Their story reveals that organized people can be the creators of their own destiny. There's much to learn from this model of a local community economy through cooperativism that respects nature, people, and traditions. We have with us today the maker of this inspiring film, Atahualpa Caldera Sosa, who's a member of the board of the Center for Global Justice, a biologist and watershed management expert. Ata received his degree in biology from the Universidad Autónoma de Estado de Morelos and a master's degree in watershed management at UNAM, or no, not UNAM, Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro. He was co-producer of the award-winning documentary 13 Pueblos in Defensa del Agua, El Aire y la Tierra, directed by Francisco Taboada Tabon. He lives near San Miguel, where his nonprofit organization, Gaia, offers workshops on sustainable living on the land. So let me turn the mic over to Ata to say a few words, and then we'll start with the film.
Thank you very much, Cliff, and the Center for Global Justice to let me show the film. And I hope everybody who is connected to this webinar enjoy the film. And at the end of the film, we can have some questions, and I will be very happy to answer all your questions. Enjoy the film and welcome.
Claudio Adelaido Ángeles Ramírez. ¿Sí? Estamos ahorita aquí en Grutas Tolantongo. He conocido un lugar aquí completamente como el paraje. ¿Sí? Mi trabajo ahorita pues, es atender este negocio de botanas, de micheladas, de refrescos, y eso, ¿no? Esto de hecho es una cooperativa de ejidatarios. Estamos dentro del ejido llamado San Cristóbal, correspondiente al municipio de Cardonal, estado de Hidalgo. El inicio de la cooperativa, que fue por ahí por el año 73, 74, pues, se empezó de ceros como todo un negocio, ¿va? Como todo un... Sí. Las grutas, el río, las cascadas siempre han existido, más sin en cambio no se había impulsado al turismo. Ajá. Ya por el año 73, a finales de 73, inicio de 74, se empezó a abrir camino para llegar aquí a Tolantongo. Claro que mucha gente, no mucha, a lo mejor, la gente de los alrededores de nuestros pueblos vecinos lo conocían, pero llegaban caminando, bajando por el monte a caballo, como podían llegar. Y se fue ya conociendo más el lugar por ellos mismos. Se fue divulgando que era un lugar muy bonito, contaba con aguas termales, con un río, grutas y eso, ¿no? Entonces poco a poco fue siendo atractivo para la misma gente que se enteraba de esto.
Aquí llegué a Tolantongo hace aproximadamente unos 30 años, cuando la bajada eran brechas, o sea, no había mucho camino como ahora. Hoy hay pozas, hay hoteles, hay restaurantes.
Yo vine hace muchos años y inclusive era bajar en terracería. Eran unas pocitas nada más, y el crecimiento que ha tenido Tolantongo es de reconocerse el trabajo que tienen todos los socios de esta cooperativa.
Porque es un lugar del estado de Hidalgo, consideramos que muy hermoso, la segunda vez que venimos. La primera vez tiene como 10 años y no estaba tan bello como está ahora.
Desde muy pequeña, la verdad ya no recuerdo cuando todavía no se podía bajar hasta acá con los autos.
Los ejidatarios de aquel tiempo, de hecho estaban acostumbrados a trabajar en equipo, en grupo, ya como una cooperativa. Contaban aquí dentro de esta zona un lugar que era un huerto de frutales, algunos ejidatarios tenían aquí cultivo, un cuartillo, 2 cuartillos de siembra, y ahí se entretenían. Sembraban árboles frutales, que aguacate, que limón, que naranja, que plátano, bueno, en fin. Entonces había un área que era en cooperativa, ya, como le llamaban huerto del ejido, que lo trabajaban entre todos. ¿Sí? Entonces, como ya estaban acostumbrados a trabajar así, alguien les dio la idea de que este lugar se podía impulsar como centro turístico y sacarle más beneficio, ¿verdad? Por supuesto. Ajá.
Pues yo soy hijo de ejidatario de aquí de Grutas Tolantongo, y en sí pues llevo trabajando unos 5 años, 6 años yo creo que trabajando aquí, pero nada más de fines de semana, porque hay que ir a la escuela. Estudié administración de empresas turísticas y ahorita actualmente una especialidad en recursos humanos. Todos los miembros de aquí son ejidatarios, son más o menos 130 ejidatarios. Yo soy hijo de uno de ellos. Pues más que nada los invitamos a que conozcan Grutas Tolantongo. Es un lugar muy bonito, o sea, es todo natural, el agua muy caliente, todo muy bonito. Está en el estado de Hidalgo, el municipio se llama Cardonal, el pueblo es San Cristóbal, y estamos lavando las pocitas.
Más que nada desinfectarlo, porque la lama la genera cuando el tiempo de polvo y seco. Ajá, es cuando jala mucha tierra, mucho polvo, y ahorita como ya los arbolitos ya es primavera. Este trabajo se realiza cada miércoles en una temporada baja. Cuando es temporada alta se da 2 veces a la semana. Tiene que estar pegadito, porque le digo es que, por ejemplo, toda una como babita que genera el agua, se la deja ahí después, se hace como ceniza, y cuesta mucho más después lavar.
A mí me encanta ir a la cueva, la grande y la pequeña, los ríos, las albercas, donde te puedes echar clavados, los juegos y muchas actividades que puedes hacer aquí, la tirolesa, pues muchas actividades, pero lo que me gusta más es convivir con mi familia.
Deja que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Deja que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Que tu corazón pueda brillar. Que tu corazón pueda brillar. No hagas que se marchite tu lucecita. No hagas que se marchite mi vida tu lucecita.
Ahorita le andamos haciendo su servicio a la alberca. Esto se hace cada jueves, dependiendo la temporada. Si es baja cada jueves y si es alta, se le hace 2 veces por semana o 3.
En los sábados matamos los borregos, los horneamos en la noche y los domingos les echamos la barbacoa. Y los días jueves lavar las cositas y las albercas. De aquí dándole mantenimiento a la alberca porque hoy sí tenemos demanda. Andamos apurados porque los clientes desean este tipo de servicio y si no está higiénico, pues ya ves, no se vale que no le demos una buena calidad de agua a los visitantes, los invitados. No, de principio se formó no como cooperativa, sino como pueblo. Se hacía la faena que aún se permanece, se sigue haciendo. Y se fue trabajando. La faena es trabajar. Aquí su obligación o su deber del delegado y de obras es ver dónde necesita mantenimiento, un ejemplo. O ver dónde se necesita una pared, o dónde vamos a colar, o a dónde hay que ir a limpiar, o hay que ver la carretera qué tanta basura tiene. Esa es faena. Aquí entonces ya se organiza, se reparte entre todos, nos repartimos, unos se van a hacer una cosa, otros otra, y así se hace la faena. La faena es un día no salario en todos los socios, todos los del pueblo. Y un voluntario a fuerza, porque si ahí si no vas también, dices, bueno, ¿por qué no estás cooperando? ¿Qué te pasa? ¿Por qué tienes todos los servicios y tú no cooperas, no? Aquí es una obligación, más que voluntario es una obligación. ¿Por qué obligación? Porque todos vivimos de aquí y todos aquí vivimos. Entonces no tenemos que irnos para ningún otro lado y no tenemos que ir a trabajar a ese otro lado más que para nosotros mismos, como si fuera en su casa. Dice, voy a hacer esto hoy, bueno, ya terminé hoy esto, mañana voy a hacer el otro y así es igual el pueblo, igual. Aquí es una familia, más que un pueblo así que se suene, porque a veces suena a un pueblo como que unos son de una forma, otros de otra. No, aquí todos somos iguales, todos.
No hay diferencia.
No hay diferencia. Aquí no debe de haber diferencia. ¿Por qué? Porque todos comemos de la misma mesa. Todos aquí trabajamos algo que no, si hoy trabajo y no me pagan, no pasa nada. ¿Por qué? Porque mañana pasado voy y trabajo y ya me pagan, ya que ya tengo para comer. Esa es la forma en que se lleva aquí el pueblo, la sociedad. Ajá. Y entonces le platicaba de antes, entonces de la cooperativa, después cómo funcionó la cooperativa. ¿Por qué? Porque se empezó a entender vamos a poner una tiendita. Bueno, esa tiendita va a ser de todo. Y ahí se fue dando, se fue viendo cómo fue evolucionando, y hasta lo que ahorita hay. Y así se ha dado, y así sigue dando igual.
Me gustó mucho el lugar, pero algo que me impresionó mucho es porque tú llegas al lugar y puedes pensar, ay, pues, ¿de quién será este lugar, no? Con toda seguridad, pues, alguien que tiene mucho dinero, o un extranjero, un empresario, ¿no? Y cuando te das cuenta que es una cooperativa formada, manejada, trabajada por la misma gente del lugar, o sea, los mismos ejidatarios, pues es admirable. A mí me parece admirable, ¿no? Me parece admirable y eso me impresionó mucho. Algo que me comentaba la persona con la que yo platicaba es que dice que cuando ellos entran, bueno, para empezar, los socios deben de estar en todos las áreas de trabajo, ¿no? En la administración, en la cocina, la limpieza, en todo. Entonces, eso es buenísimo porque ellos conocen todo el movimiento realmente, ¿no? Realmente están bien involucrados y bien comprometidos.
Pues yo llevo apenas 7 años aquí trabajando como socio y empecé de salvavidas en la gruta. El siguiente año policía de checador. El tercer año trabajé de dependiente en una tienda de ropa de souvenirs y el siguiente año de chofer en una combi y el siguiente año de seguridad en la semana. Y después estuve de encargado en el local de casas de renta de sillas, mesas y ahorita me tocó aquí en la tienda y aquí estamos para servir. Sí, cada año se hace cambio de personal en diferentes áreas. Funciona porque así ya cada año vas experimentando un trabajo diferente y así te desestresas y cada año ya es diferente. Los invitamos a que se organicen y que trabajen juntos, ya que nosotros aquí lo hacemos. Trabajamos en unión y gracias a Dios todo ha salido bien y todo va para arriba. El sueño es de que sigamos trabajando así como en equipo y pues, que a lo que se está logrando ahorita, pues, que nuestros hijos, nuestros nietos lo disfruten a lo máximo, que lo sigan cuidando hasta ahora como nuestros padres lo cuidaron y lo trabajaron y así nosotros también estamos trabajando. Ojalá y ellos piensen lo mismo que nosotros. Esta empresa es como un sistema de trabajo, es para sostener a nuestra familia y gracias a Dios viene a trabajar mucha gente y esa es la ayuda que Diosito nos dio en este paraíso.
relicarios y amuletos para regresar oliendo a sal con viento y entre tus brazos tibios descansar. Sobre la marea que viene y que va, se pierden las luces para regresar. Sobre la marea que viene y que va, y luego el silencio.
Tolantongo is a fascinating example of what can be achieved. First of all, it's not just a cooperative, it's an ejido cooperative. An ejido is a form of land tenure that was created under the Mexican Revolution. The land was expropriated from the big haciendados, the big landholders, and given to the peasants who had always worked the land. But it was land that was held in common, that could not be divided up and sold. You know, the slogan of the Mexican Revolution, of course, was Tierra y Libertad, land and freedom. If you have land, you can grow your own food, you can support yourself, and you can live as a human being who fulfills one's own needs, which of course is what everyone wants to do. Have meaningful work and work that fulfills your own needs by your own activity.
Yo disfruto de este lugar cuando yo quiero porque mi familia es dueña de aquí.
And they're a very cohesive, united group of people. And they're very successful, and they love it. And it's a wonderful, inexpensive, working class hotel. And it's just been very successful. I guess they've had very good management. And management normally is very good in a cooperative because everyone is working together to try to figure out the best way to do things, the most effective, the most efficient way to do things. And everyone gives 110% because it's their own business.
Deja que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Deja que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Que tu corazón pueda brillar, que tu corazón pueda brillar. No hagas que se marchite tu lucecita, no hagas que se marchite mi vida tu lucecita. Si tú eres mujer, belleza infinita, si tú eres mujer, belleza infinita. Si la na 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 na, si la na na, si la na 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 na, si la na na.
Sí, muy seguro, usted puede dejar sus cosas en su campamento y nadie nos toma, nadie, todo seguro. La seguridad de nosotros es para cuidar todo el visitante que nos visita, tanto el estacionamiento desde la llegada hasta el campamento. Estamos cuidando entramos a las 5 de la tarde y salimos a las 8 de la mañana, para que todos estén seguros de su estancia, que que se sientan a gusto más que nada. Y nosotros ahora sí estamos con ellos, ¿cómo están? Buenas noches, no estamos bien, y es la pregunta que le hacemos a cada visitante. Pues nos ha gustado ahora sí trabajar y a motivar a nosotros mismos hay que hacer esto, nos hace falta más servicios. Ahorita se está construyendo la parte es unos sanitarios para que la gente ya no baje hasta abajo, cerca, o sea, frente a las albercas, que ahí no es baño. Entonces ya va a ser aquí para que lleguen, muchos llegan y queremos baño, ya no, ya les agarra más cerca los servicios. Parte de arriba en la iglesia que se está construyendo y ya llevamos 7 años construyendo la iglesia de mayordomo, son 3 años, llevo 1 año y medio, o sea, me falta 1 año y medio. Sí, acaba de pasar el 25 de julio la fiesta grande, empieza del 23 la llegada de imágenes, el 24, 25 es o sea, la buena, donde hay más, la quema de castillo, todo que le da vista o sea, a nuestra iglesia. Una obra bien hecha, dejarle algo a nuestros hijos, nuestra familia, algo que la comunidad quiere que esté todo bien, darle una presentación a nuestro pueblo más que nada, que tenga buena imagen, tengamos una iglesia que a donde vamos todos, porque todos somos de una sola religión aquí creyendo, nadie, o sea, no hay de otra, no hay divisiones, todos estamos, ahora sí, como es un ejido, todos estamos unidos, todos jalamos, todos cooperamos para la iglesia, nos ponemos de acuerdo para cuando se hace un evento, para que vamos a hacer esto. Y ya tenemos una reunión, juntamos, somos 130 ejidatarios y aparte ciudadanos que son cositos de 20 ciudadanos. Y se coopera para la fiesta, para comprar el adorno, para muchas cosas se coopera. Y toda la gente pues está de acuerdo y nos apoyan porque tratamos de que la fiesta salga bien, le dé buena representación a los que nos visitan.
Es una empresa social, ¿sí? Conocemos muchas empresas, ¿no? Las empresas privadas, pues las empresas privadas sabemos son 2, 3, quizá 15 socios, 20 dueños, pero tienen un bien para ellos nada más, ¿no? El cooperativismo, la gran diferencia es que es una empresa social, o sea, no es nada más una empresa donde vamos a crear, vamos a hacer una empresa en esta área, sino que socialmente se tiene el compromiso, no nada más en los socios, sino a más ámbitos, ¿no?
La gente que nosotros, que son fuera de la sociedad y que estamos dándoles empleo, no les damos un sueldo como el que se da en la Ciudad de México, o sea, o en lugares circunvecinos, aquí mismo, cerca de aquí, en Ixmiquilpan, ¿no? O sea, el sueldo es mayor.
Mucho
¿sí?
mayor que cualquiera.
¿Sí?
No es ni siquiera, es muy por encima del sueldo mínimo que te ofrecen en la ciudad.
¿sí? Entonces, de esa manera tenemos al trabajador contento. ¿sí? De esa manera nosotros sentimos que estamos apoyando a las familias de estos trabajadores. ¿sí? Son gente que también están con nosotros. Sin ellos nosotros no podríamos crecer.
Son tratados como nosotros, como familia, como lo acabas de ver ahorita. Todos trabajamos juntos y prácticamente si nosotros trabajamos juntos, trabajadores y patrones y todos, lo vemos como todo nuestro, pues todos vamos a ir para adelante. Va a haber trabajo, va a haber buena remuneración, va a haber, o sea, para todos hay.
Que sí, que me gustó que han trabajaron para poder tener una fuente de trabajo y nos han ayudado a muchas personas de aquí del pueblo y de otros pueblos vecinos que trabajamos aquí y ya no salimos a la ciudad, ya no nos vamos a la ciudad a buscar trabajo, pues ya aquí mismo tenemos, gracias a Dios. Ya no tenemos que andar pagando renta ni nada, o sea, ya estamos aquí donde ya nos hemos acomodado. Pues tenía uno que ir a la ciudad, pues ya que, por ejemplo, en mi caso, pues yo fui a trabajar en una tienda anteriormente y pues, le ayudaba a mi tía con renta y después pues ya me fui mejor en una casa, convenía mejor, ahí ya tenía yo los servicios gratis. Y ya lo poquito que me pagaban, pues ya era libre. Y así pagando renta y comida, pues no, apenas, no alcanza. Y aquí, gracias a Dios, ahorita de que con el sueldo que nos dan y que tenemos trabajito diario, pues vivimos mejor. Así hemos podido sacar a nuestros niños adelante, que estudien. A jalones y a estirones, pero han estudiado. Me dedico a la limpieza, a limpiar los cuartos al hotel.
Eso también es bien importante, generar la economía local. ¿sí? El desarrollo local tiene que empezar internamente en el lugar. Podrán ir personas externas, ¿verdad?, a apoyar en determinada situación, pero no a imponer. Pero eso depende mucho de la gente que viva en el lugar.
Aquí esto es nuestro. Sí, y desgraciadamente en las playas, cuando tú vas a una playa, lo que hay ahí no es de la gente, o sea, de los nativos de ahí. Sí, siempre llegan las empresas extranjeras, se posicionan de algo, sí, y aquí no, aquí nosotros esto es nuestro y lo cuidamos como nuestro, aparte de, porque esto que estás viendo, o sea, en Grutas Tolantongo, no es todo lo que hacemos, o sea, cuidamos tanto los cerros, cuidamos tanto nuestro entorno, cuidamos nuestras carreteras, o sea, todo lo que va relacionado con el turismo, la gente que llega, sí, todo eso le ponemos importancia.
Lo que está ahí, la naturaleza, el agua, o sea, es un proyecto también ecológico muy, muy viable. Así como ahí puede ser en otros lugares, ¿no? Pero esa es la gran diferencia del cooperativismo, el compromiso con nuestro entorno, de ofrecer algo factible, viable, para el bien común de todos, ¿no? Así en Tolantongo, que cuidan todo, el medio ambiente, las aguas, o sea, es increíble lo que está pasando en ese lugar. Y pues esa es la gran diferencia del cooperativismo, el entorno social, el entorno ecológico, el entorno familiar, todo abarca muchísimo. Yo creo que es una de las soluciones a muchas problemáticas, sobre todo en el campo.
Toda la infraestructura de nosotros, inclusive antes de ser turístico, antes de que nuestro negocio central fuera el turismo,
hemos sido bendecidos con eso.
Trabajamos el mármol.
Una mina de mármol que tenemos y es la que nos proporciona todo
efectivamente,
que tenemos. Toda nuestra infraestructura está basada en el mármol.
Entonces, ese mármol nosotros, con apoyo de algunas personas, fuimos trabajando el mármol, nos fuimos haciendo expertos en ese trabajo. Algunos compañeros, hay un promedio de unos 10, 15 compañeros que le saben muy bien a esto porque trabajaron en eso.
En la compañía.
¿Sí? Entonces, lo único que hemos hecho ahorita es, inclusive ya no venderlo porque lo estábamos malbaratando, lo estábamos vendiendo. Este mármol llegó a exportarse.
La compañía que lo trabajó antes pues, exportó muchísimo.
Exportaba a otros países.
Y baratísimo que se pagaba, entonces era como
efectivamente
un saqueo a grandes dimensiones que los propios dueños de aquí no sabían ni lo que valía.
Exactamente, ¿qué hicimos nosotros?
Expropiar.
Lo estamos trabajando, ¿sí? Ahorita ya lo estamos laminando, ¿sí? El mármol, ¿sí? Porque el mármol es una piedra preciosa que tú no desperdicias nada, ¿sí? Hasta el polvo es bueno porque se puede trabajar también. Entonces ahorita todas las paredes que tú ves, toda la infraestructura, restaurantes, hoteles, coctelerías, todo lo que se ve es base de mármol, ¿sí?
Que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Deja que la hermosura esté en tus ojos al mirar. Que tu corazón pueda brillar. Que tu corazón pueda brillar. No hagas que se marchite tu lucecita. No hagas que se marchite mi vida tu lucecita. Si tú eres mujer.
Vamos a asistíamos así. Pero un doble fondo, a ver.
Es que sin esto no puedo vivir bien.
A ver. La sangre de... Fondo.
¿Qué les tomó, señor?
Un pulquito para tener fuerza. Ahí. Es el que donde duermen dos, amanecen tres.
Duerme en medio. Duerme en medio. 1, 2, 3, soy yo. Todo contigo.
Una gordita picosa y luego un pulque de aquí ahí somos casi todos ñañú y tlachiqueros. Por eso nos gusta mucho los pambos.
Ay, ya.
Nosotros somos indígenas de esta comunidad, todavía correspondemos al Valle del Mezquital. Porque nuestros padres y todavía algunos de nosotros hablamos el idioma ñañú. Eso es lo que así nos toman como pueblos indígenas. Pues el ser indígenas es muy importante porque es no perder nuestras raíces de nuestros antepasados, porque es una lengua que, bueno, tanto es bonita y es muy importante en nuestro estado, más que nada. Shkide quiere decir buenas tardes. Shkide. Hasta Rishudi quiere decir hasta mañana. Kawagiri Mengu quiere decir Hamodi. Hamodi quiere decir gracias. Yashkanyuni quiere decir si ya ha comido. Nuna lugar si Shanda esto quiere decir qué bonito es el lugar.
Antes emigrábamos, casi muchos, la mayoría saliendo de la escuela y iban a trabajar a Estados Unidos, pero como ya fue creciendo aquí la empresa poco a poco y ya hubo más fuente de empleo y ya pues ahorita ya no emigran porque aquí mismo se quedan a trabajar, o sea, ya no hay la necesidad de salir afuera ni a otros estados. Aquí ahora al contrario, gente que antes radicaba en México, como hasta se vienen ahora a vivir acá porque hay más fuente de empleo que en otros lados.
Yo tengo trabajando aquí hace aproximadamente 12 años, pero yo estaba en México. Pero antes yo estuve trabajando aquí, desde pequeño. A los 17 años yo me fui para la ciudad, pero a aquel le platicaba que antes bajábamos a los invitados, a los turistas, con burros, con bestias. Y los bajábamos y los subíamos, pero caminando desde allá arriba. Se veía bonito, puro laberinto así de cerros, sí, vamos saliendo.
Sí, nuestra gente emigraba a la Ciudad de México, que era la ciudad más cercana, y es donde sí, todo el mundo se iba a trabajar allá. Es más, tenemos mucha gente, compañeros, que están en la Ciudad de México y allá se quedaron. Algunos los llegamos a repatriar ya que fuimos o vieron que había progreso en nuestra cooperativa, ¿sí? Posteriormente a eso, alguna gente se fue a cumplir el sueño americano y los repatriamos, como el caso de Carlos, ¿sí? Donde él de chico
me crié y trabajé aquí.
Ajá, pero se fue a Estados Unidos y posteriormente se vino a trabajar con nosotros, o sea, lo estamos repatriando, ¿sí? Entonces, en ese sentido, así es como se ha ido generando etapas de crecimiento de nuestra comunidad. Nunca nos hemos quedado con los brazos cruzados.
Sí, yo mi mensaje para mí y mi manera de sentir es agradecer a mis viejitos, que ellos fueron los que ganaron el ejido para ahorita nosotros obtener este beneficio. Y en segunda es a mis compañeros que estamos ahorita en función, mis compañeros que somos una organización, de ver esto más en lo adelante y de crecerlo más en lo adelante, un éxito que seamos y ver y no exigirle, no, sino recomendarle a nuestros jóvenes, que son los que son el futuro, son los que van a seguir adelante, que vean esta belleza, esta madre naturaleza que tenemos y esta organización, que no se vaya a perder para las generaciones que vengan. Ese sería mi punto de vista de recomendar y de hacerle ver a los jóvenes que le inculquen a sus hijos. Sería, o sea, es mi manera de pensar a mí y de manera de ver, y digo porque nos ha costado y le digo, nosotros lo más importante que tenemos es que nuestros viejitos son los que ganaron este terreno.
Gracias para todo el pueblo aquí de San Cristóbal y Tolantongo. O sea, le doy las gracias a toda la gente y gracias a Dios que me dio la oportunidad de conocer este lugar tan bonito, y que así se conserve unido y siga habiendo progreso para todos ustedes y sus familias. Gracias otra vez.
El campo viste de luto cuando la noche le llega. Se llena de luceritos que hasta parecen estrellas. Se llena de luceritos que hasta parecen estrellas. Quien fuera como el cocuyo que cuando canta ilumina, y cuando el sol aparece su canto no se termina, y cuando el sol aparece su canto no se termina. Despierta la serranía con su canto de campana, el sol cubre el horizonte festejando la mañana.
Thank you, Atta, for this wonderful film.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you.
Really
Thank you, the
enjoyed it.
center, Jock, and everybody who participate.
Well, I'm sure some people will want to share some comments or have questions. Let me just say a word about that, because there's some people watching this on YouTube and you don't have any way of asking your question directly, but you can send an email to global.justice.cliff@gmail.com, and I'll pass your question on to Atta here in the Zoom room. And those of us who are in the Zoom room, of course, you can ask your questions directly. And so if you have a question, turn on your camera, wave at us, and we'll call on you. But Ata, do you want to say anything first about the film? I know you made it 6 years ago. And,
yes, 6 years ago, and it's changed, many changes right now in Tolantongo for good, for good. Now it's a bigger place with more attractive for the tourists, new sections that they develop now as a water park. I haven't been there in at least 3 years, I think. I went before the pandemic, but now I don't know now how it is Tolantongo. But I prefer let the people have some questions and we continue the talk.
Okay, I saw Jürgen raising his hand. You want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Cliff, and thank you, Atta. You must have had a great time filming this because there were so many parts of it.
Yes.
Knowing you a little bit, there were so many parts of it that resonate with your philosophy on life and on life together in the collective. I'm just curious, this started in the early 70s, so that's been quite a while ago. What a magnificent model this is. Has it generated perhaps other communities who live in beautiful land? And there is beautiful land throughout Mexico. I haven't seen it all by any means, but I'm just wondering whether this might have given birth to some other communities because it is such a incredible model.
Yes, actually, the state of Hidalgo has many water parks, around 60 water parks in the state of Hidalgo. And what I know when I was filming this movie, talking with the people there, they said to me that most of these water parks are cooperatives formed by the ejidos. So some of them are very successful because the beauty of the nature and the quality of the water, but most of these water parks are cooperatives like Tolantongo. Some of them are small, and some of them, they don't have this beauty of this place. But there are others that I never been. I would like to know other places in the state of Hidalgo. I hear that some of them are very, very beautiful also. And there is one near to Tolantongo that is called La Gloria. La Gloria is also a cooperative, small, and they are neighbors. And they have some relation because they have like a bridge that connect both ejidos, both parks. So you can entrance by Tolantongo or by the way to La Gloria. So they have this connection by the bridge. So it's very interesting that they inspire another communities. And also they told me that they have been participating in different congress and special events to promote this kind of cooperatives with other indigenous communities and ejido land in several states of Mexico. So I really would like to discover other model similar like this in other region of Mexico. I know that there are, that exist.
Okay, I see my old buddy Fred Pincus here. Welcome, Fred. Good to see you.
Hi, Cliff.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful film.
Thank you.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the structure of the co-op. And also, it wasn't clear to me how many people were members of the co-op and how many people were workers that were employed in the co-op. So the question would be also, how do they make their decisions?
See, they have both two types of organization. One is the ejido organization that have a president, secretary. They have a board of the ejido, and also they have the cooperative. The cooperative, the members of the cooperatives are around 150 people. And most of them belong also to the ejido land. And in this cooperative, they change every year the position of the members of the cooperative as a workers. Normally, the 150 members, they work in the cooperative, and every year they change the position in a democratic way, because they make like I don't know how to say this word in English, but they put papers in a big box with the positions, and then they pick and they choose what they is going to be their work for 1 year, only 1 year. Every year change. So they and they have also the structure of the ejido land that is very interesting, because they have responsibilities also with the land and also with the community. For example, what they do with the church, what they do in their towns, because they have Tolantongo, but they also have another community that is called San Cristobal, where is in reality the community where most of the people live. So this combination with the ejido and the cooperative, I think, is one of the strengths they have and the power of the community they have.
Now, Fred is a sociologist, and just so his question is a sociologist's question. But just to amplify that a little bit, most of the land in Mexico has been ejido land owned by communities, but building a cooperative on top of that is fairly rare. You would think that communally owned land would provide an ideal material foundation to build a cooperative. But in most cases, the ejido land has been individually cultivated by members of the ejido who have a plot of land assigned to them, which they don't own, but they cultivate it as if it were their own. In the case of Tolantongo, they had this unique resource that could best be developed collectively. And as was pointed out early in the film, someone said, well, first we built a community and then we built a cooperative. And that community, that sense of togetherness of the community, provided the basis for, I think, for a strong cooperative.
Thank you.
The Lambrettis had their hands up. You have a question, comment?
Cliff, we've been going to Tolantongo for about 30 years. The last time was 3 months ago, and the difference is, I mean, staggering. But I'm curious at the source of the water. The land you pass through is totally barren, totally dry, but there's an endless supply of water coming out of there. I'm curious as to where it comes from. Can anyone address that?
Ata's the watershed expert.
See, the water that came from the cave came from other river that is by the volcanoes of the Sierra, the mountains near to Mexico City, not the Popocatépetl mountain and Iztaccíhuatl, other ones mountains more to the side of Hidalgo. So this is water that infiltrate in these mountains and then come up in this subterranean river that goes to the cave where the Tolantongo River born. See.
Okay. Thank you.
Ata has no, excuse me, Jürgen has another question.
Yeah, I loved the part where the I guess it was a store worker who was talking about the rotation. And you just mentioned that about every year someone takes out of the big pot a job, for lack of a better term, that they would do for the coming year. I love that because you can't be bored.
Exactly.
being stuck in the same old work for the rest of your life. Not only that, but it's educational. I mean, you grow with each new work that somehow comes your way. And, you know, I've been a consultant to multinational companies, and I think even this film could contribute a lot to the thinking. My work was mostly about how do we become a more dynamic company, global company, that everyone has input, that everyone learns every year by year, and job rotation was actually one of them, by becoming, this was primarily in hospitality. And by the way, of course, this is a hospitality concern. It's a resort. So people come and they experience genuine hospitality that goes back over generations. And the hospitality of the land, the hospitality of the community, the hospitality of all the provisions that are made by members of this cooperative are gratefully received by the guests. But I love that job rotation idea. It makes complete sense.
See, it's true. And they explain me exactly what you said. They never get bored because they change every year, and they know, everybody knows the problematic that each position have. So at the end of several years, they can recognize what are the difficulties they have in each sector. So because everybody experiment the problematics and the situations of each sector. So for them, it's very important to do that. For example, one year when I went, the movie, I last 3 years doing the film. So during 3 years, I keep going. And I remember one time, one guy that I met him, he was working as a lifesaver. And then next year, he was working as in charge of the store. And then next year he was a police. So it was really nice to see this rotation, you know.
And I think it adds to the community because each job gives you a new insight. And
Yes.
ultimately, when you work collectively, you can speak with more understanding, with more of the concept of we rather than just me. And it
Yes.
just generates more sense of we can build this even better, by having this background, this wealth of information through experience. It just makes you more articulate, but also more respectful about.
Sí, it's true.
I see Roberto has his hand up. You want to raise a question?
Yes, Cliff, thank you. Hi, Atahualpa.
Hola, Roberto. Buenas tardes.
Well, I would like to know a little bit about agriculture because if the most common activity for ejidatarios is to be dedicated to the land, to agriculture, and you don't mention that part in the film, and it is hard to imagine because the land looks very, very dry, very lots of mountains and no trees, for instance. So how's the agriculture in that region, and is there a way to integrate from the point of view of the economy, integrate several activities to focus for development of the territory,
See, actually, the Tolantongo project, where is a touristic project, is only one part of the ejido, because the cooperative start with a small orchard that they have in one of the canyons where is the river Tolantongo. They grow avocados, they grow fruit trees and nuts, the nuts, and they have these big trees with fruit. They have also orange, lemon, bananas, and they still have that orchard. And the cooperative start with that purpose. But then at the beginning of the film, some of the men that mention how they start, I explain a little bit that part. But now they have the touristic project, but also they have their land where is the community, where is San Cristobal. And in San Cristobal, they have fields where they cultivate the milpa, the traditional milpa, corn, beans, squash, and they have that land is more fertile, so they can produce some of the food in that pieces of land they have. But it's true what you said, it's a very dry area, but in rainy season is possible to cultivate the milpa. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Roberto.
Yes, if you drive to Tolantongo, you drive through a very dry, arid, really desolate landscape. But then the road takes you down, winding into the canyon, into the tourist area, and it's like going into a different world.
Sí, it's true. Sí.
It would interest me to, as far as the dry land that Roberto was just referring to, we've shown here in San Miguel, surrounding San Miguel, particularly near de la Paz, I'm trying to remember the full name of the community, where the combination of agave planting and mesquite really regenerates the soil.
Yes.
These two um, plants, if you wish, of course, but actually don't need much precipitation, much rain. They
Yeah.
actually get their sustenance from the moisture in the air, and they are products. They actually can be products to help sustain livestock, and ultimately it can be so regenerative that the soil that you can have animals grazing on new growth that comes from grasses automatically, and it constantly regenerates the soil. And it's a wonderful project that's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's gaining momentum. I'm assuming that what Roberto is pointing at is going to take over more and more interest, or bring about more and more interest in the arid land in Mexico.
Sí.
Atahualpa has been working on that project without going too far afield. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
See, I just want to say that that area of Hidalgo, where Tolantongo is one of the most important areas to produce maguey. The people of that region, they have the culture of production of maguey for many uses. So they know their land is very arid, and for generations they keep producing these desert, semi-desert plants in that area. The last time when I went to Tolantongo, I was talking with one of the ejidatarios, and they were telling me that they were looking for new alternatives to cultivate the land in that area. And one of the alternatives they were looking was to plant more magueys, because for many years they stopped to plant, and now they are again interest to continue planting and producing maguey for the new and many uses we have now for the maguey. So it's true, it's a very good alternative, mixing with for example, mesquite or other semi-desert plants in these regions. And here in San Miguel, for a few years, in different communities, the people have been planting magueys and mesquites and these marvelous plants. Mm-hmm.
Coming back to the community that Tolantongo is based on, I thought one of the strengths of your film was the way in which it took us into that community. The festival that is held annually. I want to go back there next July to, during their festival. I think that would be a great time to visit. The church, the religion that helped to hold the community together, the common culture based in the indigenous people, and the sense of history, which I thought your film brought highlighted quite nicely. The one gentleman who talked about his sense that he had a feeling of responsibility and of gratitude to the generations that built what they now have, and a responsibility to future generations to continue it. That sense of community, both social and historical, as well as economic, the social enterprise that provided jobs for so many in the community.
Sí.
I mean, all of that I thought was so well woven together in this film.
Yes, yes. The sense of community has to be with the sense of they are not owners of the land and the territory. They have the sense of this is only a moment in their life, and then they going to heritage to the new generations. So they see the land and they protect the land with the indigenous vision, because all of them are indigenous. They are Otomi. They speak the Ñañú language. So they are proud to be this indigenous community, and they try to keep their tradition and pass the tradition to the new generations. And one of the things that Pablo Rebolledo comments at the end of the film, he's one of the leaders of the Ejido and the cooperative. He mentioned that their elders, they fought for their land because there were many interests to get their land. And they comment, I don't put this part in the video, but they comment to me that several governors of Hidalgo and presidents, they want their land because they want to build a resort in this area. And some of them, they want to build a casino. So the elders, they fight to defend their territory. So that's one of the reasons, because also they are very proud of their place, no? And also it's a paradise in reality. But it's very interesting, the sense of community they have and the way they protect each other and how they protect each other and also the territory.
Yeah, I sent you just piggybacking on what Cliff just said about the community. I sense that in the vignette where the representative of the indigenous community and being very proud, using the term of hospitality, which is again my background. I think, Atta, listening to you, if I may use the term, being guests of Gaia. Your organization is called Gaia or Gaia, and that when that sense of being guests on this planet, guests in this moment in time, it automatically puts you in a position of humility and gratefulness and wanting to contribute to the well-being of all, knowing that you're here for a limited time, knowing that there's a sense of interdependency, not only with each other, but also in the generation, from past generation to future generation, which is an amazing gift when people have that sense of we that are in community, in continuity.
Yes.
The host becomes, namely the earth, Mother Nature, the environment, becomes the enabler of that energy that we're all given.
Yes.
And I thought it was interesting that the guests there were referred to not as customers, but as guests. And at one point, the reason that was given for keeping the pools clean and all of the rest, was not that that helps business, but as he put it, it's what is fair. In other words, there's kind of an ethic that guides their care of the land and service to the guests.
See, but also Cliff, I think the sense they have about the time is very important, because when the man says that he was very grateful with the elders, and now they are looking for the new generations to keep taking care of the place, is because they have a sense of time very, very different that the people who live, for example, in cities, or with this conception of modernity, that everything is fast and quick and money and everything. No, they have another sense of time and space, and also the sense of
You're muted now, Ata. Okay.
I mean, they have another conception,
Mhm.
and what you say is true. They make you feel like part of the community when you are there. It's very interesting.
Mhm. Can you say a little bit more about the efforts of commercial interests to try to take that land? I think that's something that would be worth investigating more, probably. But I wonder whether also governments have had eyes on it, because you have a great source of water in a deep boxed canyon that has a very narrow mouth. It would be very easy to dam it up and create hydroelectric power. And I wondered if there have been any, government projects of that sort.
And more than hydroelectric power, they want, what they mentioned to me, that's they want to build a resort,
Yeah.
a very fancy resort, to make a casino.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, in the 70s, around 70s. But I think it's important to do more research about it, and that would be great to know more about that situation. But also, I don't know if you remember, in the movie they mentioned a mine they have of marble. That mine of marble, the owners were from Italy, and the Ejido expropriate the mine, because in the past they belonged to them, and they recuperate the mine of marble. So that's very interesting also.
I love that.
See. See. So now they also sell the marble, and that's another income for the community.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the striking things about this co-op, from what I've heard of its history, was that they started this cooperative and built it without any outside financing. They didn't take loans from banks or have outside investors. They built it from the road that provided access. They built that themselves. And all of the facilities that you see there now were their own doing.
They have a cultural aspect very interesting that is called la faena or el tequio, that is in Mexico, in the indigenous communities, is very common to see that. Is voluntary work, but sometimes, I mean, always is with the sense of collectivity. For example, when they need to arrange or to rebuild the little dams they have in the river to make the pools, they have to use big machine that they own. No, they buy these machines to reconstruct every year the pools of the river. But some of the work they have to do is by hand. So they do that in faenas. Faenas is normally the Sundays or Saturdays, and they get together like 100 or 150 people, and they work all together for one day. But imagine the advance they have when they get this quantity of people, you know? So it's amazing. The faenas are something very important in the ejido land and this communal land is something very deep in the culture of these communities, these indigenous communities or campesinos, no, ejidatarios. Mm-hmm. And that makes these communities very strong because many things they do as a faenas, or also the big festivity they do every year, everybody collaborate to do the festivity. So everybody do something and everybody collaborate with work or with money, no? So that's the strength that they have.
One of the things that has often been observed about Tolantongo, as other ejidos as well, is the dominant role that men play. The members of the families belong to the ejidos, and it is the head of the household that is the ejidatario. And so it's typically the men who make up that body, except, as I understand it, in cases where maybe there is no male heir to take over, then maybe a daughter might take over that role, but that's more the exception.
See, it's true. But that depends on the board of the ejidos. No, mostly, as you say, are you know, the men have the main role, but in some ejidos, women also participate in the ejido, and they have also a very important role in this social structure, no? Because they participate in many activities as the men also, no? When they cultivate, when they harvest, when they prepare the production. I mean, when they have the harvest, the woman and the men, they divide the work for specific situations, no, specific activities. So it's very interesting how they play the role. For example, something that admired me in Tolantongo, one time I saw two men doing the cleaning of the bathrooms and the toilets, because normally this kind of work they do women, no? But in this case, the men were cleaning the toilets and the bathrooms, and they said to me that was part of the work they have to do as in charge of the cleaning system. And one woman that belonged to the cooperative was working in the administration. So I met 3 women in Tolantongo that belonged to the cooperative, and they were working in restaurant and administration. And they have I miss one of the questions that someone asked me. They work, they give work around 300, or sometimes in high season, around 500 workers around the communities. I mean, they don't belong to the cooperative. It's people who came and worked for the cooperative. 300 in normal season and 500 in high season. For sure now they for sure they have more in this time.
Well, that brings up a point that some people have raised, that the cooperative principle generally holds that the cooperatives should really minimize the employment of wage labor. That if additional people are needed to do the work, that they should be allowed to join the cooperative. But as I understand it, it is the structure of the ejido system that constrains that, so that they can't expand the cooperative as generally would be desired. And so they have to employ, as you say, 300 to 500 people during the high season to supplement that of the cooperative members.
Yes, exactly. Because they have a lot of demand. Actually, I think this film helps to promote Tolantongo. And now many people goes and they have a spectacular quantity of people every year. It's actually start to become a problem for them, the amount of people that wants to go every year. So they have to control that and to spread the tourists in different areas of the locality. And I think they are doing that, like developing new areas, because I really want to come back to see now how grow, no?
Well, let's go there next July after the pandemic is over.
Excellent.
Well, you better make your reservation soon, Cliff, because they're so inundated, as Atta was just saying. So you better make your reservations early.
Make the reservation early, right?
This is just a small aside. It's not meant as a critique at all, but I am very concerned about the environment, as probably you all know. And air toxicity, air pollution is one of them. And that one part, even though I love festivities and I love festivals, that one part of fireworks, I cringed a little bit because it reminds me of so many fireworks that I see around in Mexico. And unfortunately, fireworks are not good for the atmosphere. I don't know whether one part showed LED displays. It looked like they were using some LEDs. It was up in the air, but it wasn't explosions. It was patterns. I don't know whether that was my imagination, but there's a lot of new work being done with LED and laser that gives almost the sense of excitement that fireworks do, and it doesn't hurt the environment.
See, the festivity in Tolantongo last 1 week.
Wow.
And the last weekend, they have a big concert. So what you see when they were dancing, it was a concert. They have like two big groups that they play all night, and they have a huge concert. And that was the LED lights and all what you see in that part.
I see.
But also it's true. I mean, they use a lot of fireworks, and that's part of the festivities all Mexico.
Right. It's part of the culture. It's hard to
Yeah.
change that.
One episode I cringed at was the cockfight.
Oh yeah.
Fortunately, that was very brief. Okay. Well, I think we should wrap this up. It's been an interesting conversation we've had with Ata, and we thank you for your film and for sharing this time with us today. Let me point out that this webinar, as well as all previous ones, are available on our website, globaljusticecenter.org. So you can see any that you might have missed. Next week, just as a heads up, our webinar will be on progressive populism and socialism, which way forward. And our speaker will be Bhaskar Sunkara, who is editor of an important journal, important publication in the United States and globally. So please join us next Monday for our webinar at 1 o'clock as usual, Central Time. So let me sign off, giving thanks to our webinar team, Roberto Robles, Liz Mestras, Gregory Diamant, Olivia Canales, and yours truly. And now this is Cliff Durand signing off until next Monday. Okay. Yeah, so